Welcome in to Views from the Stands. And we are so excited to get to talk some sports with you on a Tuesday night. I'm your host, Stevie B, Steve Brennan, and we have my two favorite guys with me, as always, the GM, G Mike, and Brandon BC. Gents, we have a jam-packed show for you, man. We have the reactions to the CFP Natty from last night. We have the NFL Conference Championships. We're also going to go back over the divisional games. We have an amazing DownBad Debate, which we hope to get a lot of you guys out there to jump in on this one with us. And, of course, we always have a lot of big news. But before we get into all that, we have to pay some bills. But we have a brand new sponsor and partner that we'd like to introduce to you guys. It's Varsity Sports Nation. We're extremely excited for this venture. Not only can you watch our show on demand, but you can watch all kinds of the best high school sports and other sports content from all around the country. Here's the amazing thing about Varsity Sports Nation. They have a convenient app for you to download just on your phone. You can also stream it to your Roku, your Apple TV, your Fire TV, Facebook, Android, iOS apps, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you want to get sports, you can find these guys on there, and we're extremely excited to start this partnership and be working with them on that. All right, Mr. G Mike, man. After all of that, real quick, sorry about that. That took a little longer than normal. Why don't you let the people know what you got going on? And it is damn good to see you on a Tuesday, my man.
Yes, sir. You ready to get this working, baby? Just like these sports bets that we got going on in Telegram, baby. We got some good bets for you tonight with the NBA going all in right now. If you guys want to join in the chat, try to win some money, try to win anywhere from $50 to $100 to $150 a day. We charge $5 a month just to get into the chat, look at our slips, put them in there, and win some money. So you'll see it pop up on the chat right now, the link. Or if not, if you're watching the recorded episode, you'll see it pop up on your screen. If not, just slide in one of my DMs on one of the social media accounts right there, and we'll get you on and popping, baby.
Let's all get some money this year, man. Let's get that money. Mr. BC in the building, man. How are you feeling? I knew you were rushing, trying to make it to the show. I'm really glad you made it in, buddy. Why don't you let the good people know what you have going on?
I mean, before I get into that first, man, I gotta just give a shout out to you, my man. You can always trust that man with the money lines. You can trust him, with your props and everything like that. I know nothing about gambling, but G Mike does. That's where he's got you covered. So hey, man, verified by me, verified by everybody else, man.
Appreciate that.
Of course, man. But anyway, I was about to say, me and the missus, we got a little small business down here in Central Florida, brandest.media. We got your engagements, we got the wedding, photography, videography, even for stuff too, like senior photos. That's going to be coming up soon towards the end of the year. Also, too, if you got just want to do family formals, family portraits, stuff like that, we got a wide range we're trying to do. Cast that net wide, large and wide. Again, Central Florida area, photography, videography, brandest.media. Check out our portfolio online there. You can see everything, see if we fit your style. And if not, it's all good. But hey, man, we make memories that last a lifetime down here. So.
Absolutely, man. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get into some sports. How about you guys? You guys ready to go, man?
Let's do it.
Let's get it. All right, man. It did not take long for this one to happen. Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears have agreed to a deal. The deal is estimated to be around $13 million is what it's expected right now. They're still in the process of working out the terms of the length of the contract. It is fresh off the press pretty much at this point. But all right, man. So what do you guys think about this one? We were just talking about Ben Johnson last week, and is it time for him to move on if they don't make it? I was thinking he should have stuck around a little while longer, but I think this job makes a lot of sense for him, considering that the Bears just seemed like they needed somebody that knew how to run some offense in Chicago. So I think this is actually a really good move for him. I'm glad he took this position and not the Raiders position, because that was the big rumor of what they were talking about was possibly the Raiders. That was what he was linked to. That one really didn't make much sense to me to do, especially coming off of Detroit. All right, G Mike, what's your thoughts on this, brother?
I think it was a good move for him. Definitely, he wanted to be in control of his own team. Even though he was in control of that offense in Detroit, but now he wants to be in control of a whole team. And you saw when he entered the facility today in Chicago, he looked like he really wanted to be there. His family were really happy to step into that facility. It looked like he was about to cry, really. But just as a business decision, I think it's good for him to go with the Bears instead of the Raiders, like he was looking at, because of the superstar rookie QB that they got in Caleb Williams. They got an amazing running back in this DeAndre Swift. They got a star-studded receiver in DJ Moore. Keenan Allen, a pro out there, a big-time pro veteran that can catch all the footballs in the world. And I think the offense is going to be good with Ben Johnson. I think this is going to be a lot of positivity towards the future. We still have to see what's good with the defense, but when it comes to the offensive side, I think they're going to be looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah. G-Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. Like that. Honestly, it's such a good move for Ben Johnson. And I think we're seeing a lot of guys that are head coaching candidates probably try to switch from, like if they're going to a team, especially if they're offensive minded, they really want to lean towards a team that's got a franchise QB set up. Like we said, LA, there's not really a lot out there. There's a few other places like, obviously Jacksonville is going to be a place for any other offensive coordinators to go to as well. Wink, wink, Liam Cohen, sweating bullets here with that one. But we're seeing kind of a trend where a lot of head coaches, they're going more towards younger teams that have kind of that franchise signal caller set up, or maybe a chance to, they can kind of leave their imprint on the offense. And it's great for him as well, because he can always just bring in, he's shown that he can call a game really well. He's always been more of that style of coach anyway, where he's going to be the play caller for one side of the ball, not really necessarily the walk around coach like we kind of see with Dan Campbell. But now I think really for Johnson, the thing is find a great defensive-minded coach. If somehow maybe Robert Saleh slips through the cracks of getting hired as head coach, he's probably going to be the best defensive coordinator option out there. For me, I would love to have him in Tampa, but if you're Ben Johnson though up in Chicago, he's going to be an amazing find for sure that can really help revamp that monster of the Midway defense.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about Robert Saleh, but you're completely right. That would be a very interesting candidate to be a DC over there if they already haven't got cleaned house over there to begin with. Though I've always heard that Chicago seems like it's kind of a hard city to work with because of the ownership. They're very old school. They're still celebrating, the 85 Bears as if it's brand new, and so that's been a downfall for them for a little while. But I think with this new offensive regimen, they finally might have someone that can pass over 4,000 yards for the first time ever, which is absolutely insane that they've still never done that. I think it's 30 touchdowns. I don't think anybody's ever gotten as a Bears quarterback as well, which is just out. It's one of the oldest franchises in the league, and they still haven't been able to do that. Just crazy to me. But I think it's going to all change when Ben Johnson gets there. I think that Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's going to make some really interesting moves. I like it a lot because we all alluded to it whenever we were talking about it in the preseason about we thought they had one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. And on top of it, too, there was stretches during the middle of the season that it looked like when they had the London game and a couple of other games where, okay, Caleb Williams got it. He started to figure it out. And then he just went back down, and it did not work at all. So he kind of just looked a little bit off. But that whole team was just off, man. The coaching staff was a mess. They should have never had who they had in charge of whatever the teams. And, yeah, it just was not working out at all for them, man. But, yeah, I totally agree. I think this is going to be a great move for the Chicago Bears in the city of Chicago, man.
Don't be surprised if that offense ends up being like top 10 next year. It would not surprise me with Ben Johnson calling plays. It's going to be a scary team for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. Yeah, so moving on, there's been a lot of moves in for coaching today, actually, just in a matter of mere minutes before I went live. There was another big move that just happened, and the Minnesota Vikings have agreed to a deal to bring 39-year-old Kevin O'Connell back. I can't believe the dude is 39 years old, man. That's just wild, man. How that he's a head coach and already on his next
coach right there, man. American coach.
Kevin O'Connell went 14-3 last season, which is the second most wins in franchise history. G-Mike, how do you feel about this deal, man? I think this is an absolutely amazing deal for the Minnesota Vikings. They're still like I was saying too, this just came out, so they're still working on the kinks about how much the deal is going to be worth and the extension of it. But he's going to be getting paid pretty well, though.
No, definitely. I agree. I think this is a great deal for the Minnesota Vikings. He's proven time and time again since he's been there that he could win in the regular season and he could take them to the playoffs. Obviously, they haven't gone anywhere in the playoffs, but that has to do with more of personnel, in my opinion. But he's a leader of men. They listen to him. He knows how to win. He knows how to put up points. He knows how to make an offense great. So I feel like it was a no-brainer for them to extend him. And, there's going to be a lot of wins in the winning column for Minnesota in the upcoming seasons, and they're going to be happy to have given him this extension.
Yeah, I know. And you know what was pretty wild too is I wanted to ask you guys about this as well, that there was a bunch of rumors that he was going to possibly be traded BC, would you ever trade for a coach? Would you ever do that?
I mean, you're asking the wrong guy for that. We traded for Gruden back in like 2002, and it worked out for us. We got a Super Bowl. Well, we got a Super Bowl, but we got it with Dungy's team. But that's for another day. But I mean, if they traded him, it would be. I'm curious to see how much. Like, I mean, I could see them maybe trade him to Las Vegas. Like, they're just that desperate for good head coaching. But it's like you would have to fork over your draft rights for the first and second rounds for the next like 2 or 3 years, especially with the success that he had in Minnesota with. Again, we were writing the Vikings off as they're going to finish dead last in the division, especially with McCarthy going down. Sam Darnold's going to start. Like, what are we talking about? But he really helped guide that team. And again, towards the end of the season, you're going up against a great team in Detroit. You're playing a really tough Rams team. Like, it's not going to be, they were very difficult matchups. I think that just the fact that they got that 14-win season and they made it to the playoffs after going through what they went through in the offseason, it's remarkable. And I think Kevin O'Connell's a big test of that. And I wasn't really surprised to hear about the extension at all.
Yeah, no, I wasn't either. And honestly, going just back over it, like you mentioned a little bit ago, it's kind of wild. He's only been there since 2022. And so if you think back on this, he's had to win games with Kirk Cousins, Josh Dobbs, Sam Darnold, Jaron Hall, and I want to say it was Nick Mullins as well. I think was still there maybe. But yeah, the guys won with pretty much anybody out there. So shout out to Kevin O'Connell for being one of the young guys out there. He's a great coach. I like Kevin O'Connell a lot, and it's wild too because he has a different style too than he does than the other coaches in that league now. I mean, you got Dan Campbell, who's like the big guy, the tough meathead guy and stuff. O'Connell's more of that, like give you a hug, give you the moral support kind of thing. Do you guys think that there's a better? It depends on your personnel, or is there a better coaching style? It just depends on who you are, maybe.
I think it depends on your personnel. Yeah. G-Mike, you're going to say something.
No, I agree. I think it depends on the personnel. I don't think, and even then, like, let's say in Dan Campbell's situation, right? We'll compare him to Kevin O'Connell, what you were just saying. Yeah, he's a tough-minded coach, and he's brutal, and he shows force, and he'll tell you how it is. He'll be blunt, and he's not gonna beat around corners. He's not gonna beat around the bushes. But I'm pretty sure there's still players on the Detroit Lions that probably get ticked off at it. They probably feel some kind of way. They probably get sensitive. They probably don't like it. But it could just all be worked out with a simple conversation. And like, coach, can we talk for a second? Can we close the door, just me and you, one-on-one, and hash this out? That's all you really need at the end of the day. And the same thing will go with Kevin O'Connell, because if he's being all nice and kind and being super respectful and whatever, maybe one of those players disrespects him in some sort of way, and then he brings them in. He's like, yo, we need to talk one-on-one. Yo, I don't like the way that you talk to me like that, blah, 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 and whatever. You hash it out. You just talk like grown men. But yeah, I feel like it just depends on the personnel and the type of person that you are. People have to know who you are, and you have to know how people are to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think it's like the city and the culture that you've built as well. Like Detroit is known very much for being a very tough-minded, grinded out kind of city. That's just how they've always been. Bad boy Pistons, throw that back to basketball way back in the day. That's just the city's identity. Minnesota, yeah, it's up north. It's very frigid, snowy, cold. Vikings, tough, like that kind of mentality. But they also, Minnesota, at least the personality of the state, the city, really, it's been kind of more even keel, a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed. So you kind of, even in the same division, you can go from literally one extreme to the other. Just to kind of go back though too, like just to kind of go back to
technical difficulty.
We gotta love live, man. You gotta love live.
Back. Stevie B Houdini right here.
I just wait and go. Where'd he go?
Hosting a show and disappeared, man. There's nothing better.
Does it mean I get a pay grade?
I guess, man.
Mike, you're the host now. So
oh jeez.
So yeah, it can really depend on where, what the culture is like where you're at. And it doesn't even matter what division you're in. You can have two completely opposite style coaches in the same division and it all works. It works all the same. There is literally just a difference of one win and then a difference of one extra game in the postseason this year. So I think both styles can work really well, just depending on who you got.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I just thought that was kind of wild. They were talking about possibly trading him. I wonder what the trade deal was going to be. They never really see what it came to fruition, but I would love to know what they were going to try to get for him and who was actually asking. I haven't heard that. I just heard that there was a possibility they might have been traded. But that's not the only coach out there. There was another big name coach that got another job, and that is the old school Patriots are coming back, man. Josh McDaniels is coming back as the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. Man, they're going back to the golden days after they just brought in Mike Bravel as their head coach. This is an interesting move, man. Josh McDaniels has been a less than stellar head coach in everywhere he's been. He's been in Denver, he's been in Las Vegas, and it just hasn't worked out. Now, as an offensive coordinator, that's where he's had his time to shine, and he's done pretty well. Granted, he's had Tom Brady to deal with to do it, but let's not forget he did win a game with Tim Tebow as well. So there you go. But that was a playoff game too. So just saying, But having said that, though, do you guys like this move for the New England Patriots, man?
I think it's pretty much the only move for Josh McDaniels at this point. I think that his experiences with both Denver and Las Vegas pretty much screwed him over from getting any head coaching gig from here on out. Like, the word snake oil salesman, I don't think has ever really been used as much as it has been with Josh McDaniels, just because he's able to con teams so much. I just wonder, me personally, I think that this should be the end of his head coaching experience, but I feel like give him a few seasons with New England, maybe they'll find a way to kind of get middle of the pack, get that offense going. Drake May will look great, and then he'll fool some team in the next 5 years. It's a cycle with him. It's the snake oil cycle. That's how it goes.
Like we've talked about it before, man. Some coaches can be head coaches and some coaches are just coordinators. And dude, you got to be okay with your role. Sometimes you got to be the star player and sometimes you got to be the role player, man. It is what it is. And that's what Josh McDaniels is. He's a role player in this team. But I think it's great for them, really. I think, he knows the team. Obviously, it's a different system because Bill Belichick's not there. But he knows how Bill Belichick ran stuff, so he could give a lot of suggestions. Obviously, Mike Vrabel knew how Belichick ran stuff. And I'm pretty sure he's close with Josh McDaniels, which is why he was putting his foot down to hire him, But I think it would be good for their offense. He has shown that they can be great offenses under his coordination. So I feel like it could be good for Drake May and that whole offense. Now, they just need some receivers. No,
it would be hilarious.
That's been a big one that everybody's keeps on bringing back up is T. Higgins. That name's been associated with him for quite a while. But I personally, I think T. Higgins is going to stay where it's at. I think Joe Burrow's been pushing for him to stay there for quite a while. And I know Cincinnati is notoriously cheap for the most part whenever it comes to making decisions for some of the players. But I feel like that one, they need to make that work, man. You got to keep Joe Burrow happy on that one. But with New England, though, I like what they got with Drake May, and I think it'll be kind of interesting to see. I don't think they've made Brady obviously was more of a pocket guy. Wasn't much of the runner. Drake May, on the other hand, is a dual threat guy at this point. He's got a lot of talent. I like Drake May. I think he's got a chance to make a pretty good name for himself. I think having a good offensive coordinator, they had Alex. I forgot what his last name was, but I don't think he was that great of a play caller for New England last year. So bringing in Josh McDaniels, who's been a great play caller, I think that's going to help him out a lot. And it's good to have all that championship pedigree, that championship experience that they're bringing in with Vrabel and with Josh McDaniels. Yeah. I'm sure Patriots fans are indecisive. It's going back to the old school, but I'm sure some are excited, but some are probably not.
I was going to say, has Vrabel named his DC yet, or is that still kind of up in the air?
It hasn't come out yet. They just named Josh McDaniels just before we went live.
You're telling me there's a chance for Belichick to come back?
Yeah, so there's been some. That question has come up, but I don't think that one's going to happen. He's getting paid pretty handsomely at North Carolina, and I cannot see him coming back.
Well, that contract hasn't been signed yet.
Yeah.
It's not
Are you
official.
sure?
Yeah, it's not official yet.
Yeah. I was going to say, he could pull a move like he did with the Jets. It could still happen. He's done it before.
They're talking about that he might go to the Cowboys because of the relationship that he has with Jerry Jones, and that's the head coaching job that he wanted before he took the North Carolina job.
That would be
interesting.
Hilarious.
I mean, anything is possible. Absolutely. I don't know, man.
Shit, I'll be happy.
Then you got the oldest coach, then the oldest owner. Then you just need Aaron Rodgers to get the oldest quarterback.
Not him.
There you go, man. The quarterback, he's the one you deserve, not the one you need.
No. You can ride the bench if anything, but
there you go. Mentor Dak.
I see Aaron Rodgers probably either playing in New York again, or maybe going to the Vikings.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the second year he's completing his Brett Favre arc. So there you go.
That, and you get him for one more year, and you let JJ McCarthy learn under him, which is JJ McCarthy is the guy that they really really want. I mean, they think he's gonna be the franchise quarterback, so might as well learn under a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Why not?
The script literally.
MVP.
You cannot write a better script. He resented Favre so much for having to sit under him for like 4 or 5 years. Now he has to be the one to train up not only his replacement in Green Bay, but also his replacement in Minnesota. I love it. Let him do it. Let the script writers.
Great storyline. I just wrote the script right there. Yo, pay
NFL, listen, man. G Mike, script writer next year, man. I just need to slide you some money so that maybe you can give the Bucs a few Super Bowls in that script, Gotcha.
Yeah, man, that'd be one hell of a storyline, man. That'd be one hell of a storyline. Yeah, so we're that's got to be it for all the. I don't know if we can get any more coaching news in here because we've just had 3 coaches in the matter of a day and a half all get hired in here, and there's obviously more. As soon as the offseason's over, we'll jump back into that coaching carousel. The Colts have hired a new defensive coordinator. There's been a bunch of different positions, and who the hell knows whoever the Cowboys are going to get. So we definitely got some stuff to come back for on that one. But we're going to go ahead and leave the NFL for a few minutes and jump to the college game because we had some huge game on last night. And man, let me tell you what, boys, Ohio State was the real damn deal, man. That if you did not get a chance to see it last night, the Ohio State Buckeyes took home the championship over number 7 Notre Dame. Man, they had some big plays in this game. Notre Dame, we all kind of thought was overmatched, but they actually came out and fought pretty hard, starting up the drive with a touchdown right off the bat, And are you guys impressed with that, or especially with Ohio State's defense? Were you guys impressed with them coming out right away?
Dude, that opening drive was amazing. The opening drive was amazing. It's just that they did the same play. So it was like, okay, you know what? We're going to adjust, and you're not going to do that anymore. And that's what happened.
Yep. It's beautiful to watch, though. Also, too, for anybody that's like a fan of just some of that old school running the football kind of game, like you had to be impressed, really, like with the performance of, we were talking about it before the game, Quinshon Judkins. I think we got that right, guys? I think that's right?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, he went in for 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown, man.
Yeah, MVP of the game by far. And 9 yards of carry, too. Dude was basically guaranteeing a first down with every rush. Like, that's insane. That's unheard of.
Dude, they were going crazy, man. And then everybody, even us, we're praising the Notre Dame defense.
Yeah.
And it was nowhere to be found. OSU scored 21 points in the second quarter, 10 in the third. Yep. Obviously, a field goal at the end because they were just killing the time. But, bro, 21 points in one quarter, and then you got 3 players rushing for more than 49 yards, 12 plus carries. And the QB was doing great work with 17 completions out of 21 attempts, 231 yards and 2 TDs. Wow. Notre Dame, the only person that was actually doing work was the QB.
Yeah, Riley Leonard impressed. I thought Riley Leonard had a pretty good game.
Yeah, dude. Obviously, the receivers were doing work too because he was throwing to them. But if it wasn't for the quarterback, their rushing game was non-existent. Between 3 running backs, they only had 17 yards.
Yep.
Bro, you're not going to win a national championship game like that?
Yep. Well, and we talked about that too with our preview as well. Like, the secret to Ohio State's success was to pound the rock. Notre Dame, they had a very hot secondary that was shutting down opponents, but they mostly stuck to the ground, and they were able to really bite off huge chunks of yards. And then by the time you got the secondary coming up in the box, playing it close, that's when you're able to cook them over the top. And that's what they did. And they were methodical. They were efficient. They literally they were able to make the most out of the attempts they had. And now just one little critique was just Howard. He had over 50 rushing yards, sure, but on 16 carries, like, I would have tried to feed Judkins of the ball a little bit more. But again, he's rattling off 9 yards of carry. I'm not going to complain about that. You got the natty, you got the dub. Great game.
But wasn't 4 of those carries like scrambles? like not design QB runs.
True. Yeah, and that is kind of how that's the one unfortunate thing. Like they a lot of times will just count that one as a run. So, but again, that's nitpicking. Ohio State had a great game, play calling executed to perfection just about. So they did everything they needed to do on offense to get the dub, and happy to see it.
So I did want to ask you guys a question about this one. I mean, Ohio State pretty much dominated most of the game. They made it the score doesn't actually tell how the game actually was. I think that it was Ohio State pretty much the entire way. Now, so the big storyline coming out now, and it's been all over ESPN and all these places and stuff. Has the Big Ten taken over as the king of college football over the SEC? The SEC has been dominant for God knows how long now. All right, you guys' honest opinion now. BC, you can go first with this one. Has the Big Ten become the king of the castle when it comes to college football?
King of the castle. King of the castle. You seen Borat?
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that.
I haven't seen that one in a hot minute. I need to see that one again. Based on the last 2 seasons, it's hard to dispute it. Again, we're still kind of in the infancy stages of, if you want to call it the reign of the Big Ten. So I'd still like to see at least one more year where you have a Big Ten school, reign supreme with the college champ or the national championship. But it's looking like it. It really is. Like we're seeing a lot of these big time schools in the SEC, like Alabama. They have fallen off. They fell to Michigan. Speaking of, in the ReliaQuest Bowl. So that all the big favorites that we're seeing out of the SEC have kind of really fallen off. Even Georgia, who won it before, they were the last SEC team to win the national championship. They, in recent years, have not looked as dominant as we thought they were going to be. I thought this was going to be a team that was going to be the new Bama, winning the championships, like winning at least half of the natties for the next 10 years. And I think, honestly, they'd be lucky if they got one more in the next 10 years. They've looked very vulnerable. They've looked like they could choke, and people could say, oh, well, that's just how tough the SEC is. It's like, okay, but on the big stage in the college football playoffs, you guys are blowing it. So,
QB too.
Yeah, that too.
No excuses, but
true. Well, I mean, it's the same thing with FSU a few years ago too. But yeah, point still stands. Michigan, Ohio State. Imagine that last 2 national championships with that rivalry right there. They've started a stranglehold, and now ball's in the SEC's court. It's your time to either break that and show everybody next year you're still top dogs, or you're gonna fade into obscurity.
Mike, what's your thoughts, man? You think the Big Ten is the king, or what?
Nah, I think SEC still got it, man. I think they're gonna still have it for a while, dude. There's gonna be kids that are gonna want to go to these historical colleges. Obviously, Ohio State, they spent $2 million on their players to get them to come over here, and now they win a national championship and they get those $2 million back. So they just got reimbursed for winning a championship. So it was a good move on them. But I still believe that kids are gonna want to go to these historical winning colleges, and it's where, if you want to be an NFL star, you go to the SEC to try to play there, try to get the toughest opponents, and go on to the next level, the pro league, the big top league, and try to show your skills there. I think SEC will bring out the best players for sure.
I think Arch Manning is going to be
football. When it comes to football.
I think Arch Manning is going to be the real big determining factor on where the SEC goes, because everyone's lauding Texas as like they got next, and I think they're going to go, and the SEC is going to go as far.
Which is funny that's all. If you turn on any talking head show for the last day and a half since this game got over, it's praise the Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. Well, you know who the 2 teams they're expected to go back to the national championship next year? Texas and Ohio State. So the SEC is still in the same spot. So those are the 2 teams that are expected to be back. So really all this nonsense about how the Big Ten has just taken over the SEC, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. The SEC has been dominant for so long. Big Ten have some amazing teams. Don't get me wrong. Ohio State this year and Ohio State next year, because a lot of those guys are coming back, are a damn good team. And there's no disrespect to Ohio State. And there's nothing saying that they're not. But the SEC is still the king, I believe. You just put out so many big players. Now, Michigan last year, whenever they won, they did put out a huge amount of NFL players. Michigan did a great job with that team. But having said that, though, the pure dominance that the SEC's had for so long, you can't just go away because they haven't won it 2 years in a row. I mean, let's face it, they were playing Texas in the game before the City Pro game to go to this game to go to the championship. So it would have been another SEC again team back in the championship. So I think that you need to everybody needs to pump the brakes a little bit on the fact of like the SEC is kind of just falling off.
If
no,
Texas,
man, let them know.
Yeah, if Texas and Ohio State do make the national championship next year, though, again, anything can happen. And let's say Ohio State, though, once again wins. Are you ready to crown Big Ten? Or are you going to say, well, SEC was still in the title game? So
well,
that's.
I'll tell you, I'll kind of rebuttal it then in saying that besides, let's go Michigan, Ohio State. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is that the Big Ten, the other hard part about this whole thing here, is conference realignment, and that's what makes this whole conversation kind of silly because you've added Oregon, you've added USC. It's always been Ohio State, Michigan. They've always been the top dogs. No one's scared of Indiana. Michigan State has had a couple runs, but nothing to get all excited about. Iowa is pretty much the same school every year. They pump out nine tight ends. That's about it. Like it's been the same for a while now. That the Big Ten has been this school or whatever. So I think that's where the hard part comes in is the conference realignment. You've added Oregon, who was a Pac-12 school for years and years. They just got added in there, but now they're getting the credit for them coming over. Same thing with the SEC. I guess you could say with Texas. Texas was Big 12 for years, and now they're SEC. That was like SEC's like last hope. But having said that, there easily could have been 4 SEC teams in this championship game. I mean,
I would say that they're giving them a run for their money, but I still believe that SEC is the top dog. I think it's the big brother in the room, 100%.
Right, I agree. I'm not saying Big Ten is garbage by any stretch, so I don't want to get that twisted or anything like that. The Big Ten is very big boy football, without a doubt. Ohio State easily was one of the top teams in the country this entire year. They looked great. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went out there and dominated. There was no doubt once they got to the playoffs. After that Michigan loss, they put on a show. They were just purely dominant. So shout out to them for putting on a hell of a show, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. I'm just saying I think it's a little bit too premature to say like the SEC is just gone away now because Big Ten's won 2 in a row. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Before that point, Georgia was going for 3 straight, and that was like they were about to be the next dynasty and all that good stuff. So like that gets like almost forgotten in the wind as if like that was so many years ago or so, like so. I think we just need to calm it down a little bit. How about that?
But it is
chill, doggy, chill.
It is interesting though that Georgia like fell off the way they did the last couple of years though, because like we said, we were expecting them to be the next Bama, and I mean next year, who knows? You get a good recruiting class, you can turn things around. I would be interested in seeing though who out of Georgia or Texas is going to be the main man in SEC, and then again, if Arch Manning succeeds the way we think he's going to succeed, then SEC is going to still be on top. But I do go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, why do you think Georgia fell off? Because
that's what I was going to say too. Georgia lost. I mean, the same thing with Michigan as well. If you want to go back to the Big Ten, you have so many good players and such good teams that they go to the pros. That's just what happens, obviously. And with NIL and transfer, with the NIL and transferring, some of these guys aren't waiting around as much. So Georgia was a lot like Alabama, that you had 9 5-stars just waiting their turn to be on top. Now they're not waiting around as much. So I don't think that NIL has definitely changed college football. I think that it's helped out a little bit with the aspect of more teams are getting the opportunity to have better players. But let's face it here, who was in the national championship? 2 powerhouse old school teams, with Notre Dame and Ohio State, so.
So for clickbait, we're going to put it up. NIL killed Georgia. Boom. There we go.
Okay. But why do you keep saying that Georgia fell off when they literally had the bye week and they had a great team? They just didn't have their starting quarterback.
No, I'm like I said, strictly clickbait. But yeah, falling off.
Okay. I thought you were like seriously.
No. Like falling off in terms of where I think most people, if you ask most college fans, like before NIL, I think we were all going to be in agreement. Georgia was basically going to run college football for the next 5-10 years. Easily. And I mean, and again, they're still competitive. Like we said, like a lot of stuff we're talking about is hyperbolic, but they're still competitive. But I don't think that they're quite at the level of dominance that we were expecting.
Okay, again, I'll agree to that, right? But let me ask you this. If Carson Beck plays, where do you think Georgia ends up? Do they lose that game still? Do they go to the next round? Or do they make it to the national championship? And do they win the national championship?
No, I don't think so. I'll go ahead and jump on that one. No, Carson Beck had a very down year for his standards, and honestly, on top of it too, Georgia this year had the number one drops. All their wide receivers couldn't catch, which is something extremely weird considering we just last week had that fun debate about how many great receivers they've had. The list goes on and on. Amari Cooper, blah blah. You can name for hours. But this year they had the most drops of any team in the country, which is very un-Georgia characteristic. So it's not all on Carson Beck, but Carson Beck was not as good as he was. They lost Brock Bowers, who was a gigantic piece of their offense last year. I think that Georgia they weren't able to necessarily maintain their dominance with the players that they lost. The players they lost were absolutely amazing players, and whenever you lose great players, I think the writing is on the wall in there. Yeah. Now, I think Georgia. I don't think Georgia was bad. I just don't think that they had no business being as a national championship contender this season. The prior two seasons, hands down, they were dominant.
Who did they play first off of that bye week?
They played Notre Dame. Okay, so. I believe, right? Yeah, they played Notre Dame bye week because that was the game that was delayed because of the tragedy that happened in New Orleans.
So even with Carson, yeah, true. Even with Carson Beck there, you think Georgia loses to Notre Dame?
Yeah, actually, this year it would be a hard bet. I would take the bet though because I think that for the money line, I think Notre Dame would probably be the underdog in that one because of Georgia's dominance. But yeah, I would think that Georgia would still lose in that game. I mean, I was bringing it up before a couple of weeks ago with Florida as well. I mean, the games that they almost lost. They almost lost to Florida, who nobody was scared of until the end of the year last year. They did lose to Vanderbilt. They just were not the same Georgia team that they've been. I'm sure they'll be back. Probably, I think Gunnar Stockton looks like he's going to be a pretty good quarterback. He's a pretty stocky dude. He's looks like he got some wheels to him. So I think Georgia's going to be okay, and they'll be right back in the thick of things in no time. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years or so. I just was thinking that it was a little bit. It's just a little bit too premature for me to say that the SEC is like falling off the wagon or something like that, and the Big Ten is going to run away with everything now.
Yeah, okay, but they're coming for him. They got him in their sights.
Yeah. All right. So we'll close up the college football season here. I just want to get you guys' opinion on this. What did you guys think of the playoff championship? Did you like the 12 team? Do you have any? I know said we were going to come back to this once we were done. We are done now. Do you guys have any pros, cons? Give me a pro, give me a con.
You might.
Pro, it makes the college football player longer for sure. I think that's good, and it gives opportunity for teams that have had winning records over the last few years to actually get into the playoffs and try to show their dominance. I think that's pretty dope. The con, I think the way that they set it up with the last few teams, like teams 10, 11, 12, I think that should be different. I don't think it should be the top 3 teams in the powerhouse conferences. No, I think it should be whichever team has the best record, the most points, and which has beaten, if they have a tiebreaker, have beaten each other. I think those teams should make it. I don't think it should be like how Arizona State made it. And it wasn't Alabama, right? Or Alabama was 12? Arizona State was 12.
Yeah.
Arizona State was 12 or Ohio State?
No, Ohio
State was 8.
Yeah.
Okay. There was 2 last teams that made it because of their conference.
Clemson.
And Clemson, that's right. It was the ACC, right?
Yeah, they should have been.
They should have been there, right? But that's kind of things that you gotta work with. But all in all, overall, I think that the college football playoff, increasing it to 12 teams, I think it was great for TV. Honestly, great for views, great for college football.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat with George. Like I like expanding into the teams because again, you get some of these Cinderella teams that do make a good run. I think this would have been great for a team like UCF all those years ago or FSU just to see give them a shot. And then I think this also will avoid situations like where you get the real national champions posted on their thing and they can acclaim national championship. Like this helps eliminate a lot of that. Though again, seeding is an issue, which like we said, Clemson gets in because of what conference they're in. Army gets neglected. It's like, Army was one of the best stories of the year. Even if they would have gotten beat in the first round, still give them that opportunity. They won their conference. They earned it. And I think to be in the college football playoffs, you should at the very least appear in your conference championship game. You should at least appear in the conference championship game or just win it outright. Because if you didn't even do all the work to get to the final game of the season, then you should not be in the playoffs at all. I don't care what the at-large, I don't care what conferences say.
I mean, that would alleviate Notre Dame then, because they don't have to do that. That was one of the things I was frustrated about, is that they're still getting the credit of the independent. That's.
But what was their record? What was their record?
Exactly.
They lost one game, I believe, and there was, but it did. You're peeling hairs here, because it was, if you go by any of the major schools, it was the worst loss of the year. Yeah. They lost to Northern Illinois. So I mean, if you're gonna, I guess if I would go like a pro,
but he has a bad game though. You can't.
If I would give a pro and a con,
you gotta have a good season. It's a whole season. It's not just one game until the playoffs. Obviously, the playoffs is different.
Yeah, so if I would give a pro, I liked the idea of that, how, like you were kind of saying as well, it's almost kind of a little bit more like the NFL where thanks for checking in. Yeah, so I kind of like it. It was a little bit more like the NFL, to where you can still consider, I'm just throwing a team out there, the Chiefs. You're able to lose one or two games and still be legitimately a great team, until you get to the playoffs, and that's when it actually matters. So I like that aspect of it, that it does kind of take away a little bit that every week matters, but I do like the fact of Ohio State is a perfect example. They had a stinker of a game against Michigan, but yet they still were one of the absolute best teams in the country. So they got their redemption story, and they ran through the playoffs like nobody's business. A con I would have to say would be kind of like what we were saying with the seedings. I think that I've mentioned this before. I just think that they need to establish what conferences are getting automatic buys and how they get the buys in there. I think that needs to be an established fact of which teams are actually the teams they're going to matter with.
I mean, honestly, for the buys, just give you, if we're going to be this hung up on like the Power Four conferences, just say Power Four champions get a buy. And I think that's something.
Technically, that's kind of what they did, but then they also gave a Boise State a buy, which Boise State should have had no business getting a buy, and they're not even in a considered Power 5, Power 6. I'm not even sure what power they have, but they and the other thing, here's one thing that I'm glad I thought about that too. The one last thing I was thinking that was a con about this whole thing was the bye situation. So the team that was the at-large team that got in, they got to host a playoff game. The team that was the one that got the automatic bye, they don't get to host a playoff game. They have to go to a neutral site. That makes no sense. Yeah. Why not reward the team that got the bye for giving them a home game if you give the team that didn't make the bye an extra home game?
Yeah, that is one thing I didn't like, where we're playing all these games, the quarterfinals or the
semifinals? The quarterfinals were all at neutral sites.
Yes, the semifinals should be at, because that was the one thing I did like about the old format with the college football playoff, was that you get the 4 teams and they would play the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and then the Sugar Bowl for the national championship. I like that, but then make the rest of it the quarterfinals and then the first round, make those your home field advantage ones. I
think that's the whole point of being a higher seed, is that you get to host the game. Like that to me is something they should be changing on there. Right. I mean, it's not like you can't do it. It's not like there's not money in the sport, and there's not like it's not sponsored and people are not going to pay to go to these games. I mean, every one of them are sold out. And if you're able to host at home, that team gets extra money for their school, and it's almost a benefit for being a winner. So I think that's something they need to change as well, is figure out the higher the seed, they should host the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. I feel like whatever the higher seed is.
And I think depending on as well where, let's say it's the quarter, or let's say it's the semifinals, you got Georgia, they're the top seed next year, and then they're going to be playing Texas. I think that should be that should be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because it's again, they're the higher seed. Yeah, it's not played at Georgia's home stadium, but it's still in Georgia. They earn that right.
If it's the semifinals, sure, I could buy into that. Fine, if you want to go that route, but I just think the first 2 rounds. What's the point of getting? I know you can't say what's the point of getting a bye, but you get what I'm saying here. What's the point of getting a bye if you can't even host a damn home game? That doesn't seem very fair. It's hey, you can have more. You can host a home game, but don't be good enough to get a bye. I don't know. I don't like it. I think that was kind of a silly way to do that.
Yep. All right, playoff committee, you hearing us? That is playoff games at home. We need to adjust the seating and make Notre Dame play in a conference.
There we
Look at
go.
that. Two times this episode where we got the check, baby. Sign the check, baby. And
There
you guys are
there we
viewing. We
go.
got 15 viewers right now, man. Hey, write in the chat, man. Let us know what you think, baby.
Yes.
And
What are
with
your
that, we can put a bow on the season. I think it was a very interesting season. There was a whole lot that there was a lot of really, really good games this year. I thought this was one of the better years for college football, if I had to be honest. There was a lot of upset games. Erico, the Notre Dame game where they lost. Army was a great story. There was a lot of good stories in college football this year. Miami made a slight resurgence, and then they kind of fell off in the end. But there was a lot of good they can build on from here on out.
Beat both of your teams.
All right, well, put your pens and papers down because we are leaving the college campus and we are heading to the pros. Man, we had some exciting games the last couple days in the NFL, man. We'll start in the NFC. How about that one? What do you guys want to start in the NFC or AFC? How about that? Which side do you guys want to start with?
Whatever you want, man. Let's get it.
All right, so we'll recap. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on the divisional rounds because I'm sure everybody's heard all this ad nauseum. But we just want to go ahead and make sure we go back over it, give our thoughts on this one as well. So we'll go ahead and start with the Eagles and the Rams. The Eagles came home with the victory at 28-22. That was a lot more exciting game than I kind of expected to be. I did pick the Rams in this one. I thought that the Eagles offense was going to not really show up. Saquon Barkley showed up, but that's about it for the Eagles. Mike, man, what's your thoughts on this one?
Just to start off, I want to shout out that one analyst that said there was going to be no touchdowns this game. Bro, Pablo, don't quit your day job, kid. Yo, Saquon Barkley going crazy. I mean, we expected that for it to be a snow game. In the beginning of the game, it wasn't snowing, but by the time that it hit the end of the second quarter, it was already going crazy out there with the snow. You saw snow covering the field. It was hard for the players to either catch the ball or even stay above foot to stay on their feet. But not for Saquon Barkley. 205 yards, 2 TDs. That man was going crazy with 26 carries. Yeah, man. For the Rams, Matthew Stafford had a pretty good game. He went 26 for 44 on 324 yards and 2 TDs, no interceptions. Kyren Williams had 106 yards with 0 TDs, but, they started playing a little bit better towards the end of the game. At the second last drive for the Rams, Matthew Stafford was going down the field with that offense, and they were showing that they can play with the best of them, but it was already too late. Eagles were already up. Either it was by like 10 points or 11 points, I think it was. And, man, dude, I just think like we all thought the Eagles defense were going to be crazy and they were going to do good work out there, and they came out with the victory. And then Jalen Hurts, greatest game manager ever, 15 for 20, 128 yards, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions. Greatest game manager in the game, baby.
That's push, man. That's what he's good for.
Yeah.
He
knows how to win, though. He knows how to win.
That's so true. Check on Saquon, though, man. Check that man's back. That dude's got to be exhausted from carrying this team this whole year, man.
Hey, New York Giants, you guys slipped.
Yeah. He's used to it, though. He's used to carrying the load. So it's like, I shouldn't be surprised by this. But, yeah, man. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say one of the takeaways that I was thinking from this game wasn't during the game. It was the post game. Matthew Stafford was asked about his career, if this could be it for him, and he was not saying yes, and he did not say no. He kind of looked at his watch a little bit and was saying, "I'm really gonna have to take some time and think about this one." I personally think he's gonna be back. I think he has 2 years left on his deal, but I believe he's 37 now. The kid, he can still play. He still looks great out there, but I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to end up coming back after this one. It was a tough loss for him, and the Rams, I think, had a chance to win it, and they just it just didn't work out. And I would love to see if this is it for Stafford. I would love to see him at least get one more ring. Just the amount of passing yards and highlight plays and just clutch moments that dude played on. And it was a shame that he was on Detroit for so long and had so many bad losing seasons. And, he's always just been a favorite of mine, even though he's a Georgia guy and I'm a Florida guy. But I love Matthew Stafford, man. I think he's one of the greats, and I kind of feel like he gets oftentimes forgot about whenever you bring up great quarterbacks. You always got Brady, Manning, Rodgers. Stafford doesn't get brought up too much in that conversation, but always gets kind of forgotten about, man. Like he's probably number 4 or 5 behind those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like he's up there in yardage and every category. So I think Matthew Stafford deserves a lot of credit if this is it for him.
Yeah, and it is a shame that he couldn't. It's a shame he's not on these Detroit teams now, because that would be an amazing story if he could lead this. Honestly, the storybook ending would be go back to Detroit for after your contract's up with LA, one more season, win it with the Lions. Obviously, that's not going to happen. I think
Jared Goff out of there.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But also, too, I remember seeing an article or something like that where it said his wife also does not want to go back to Detroit as far as to see them play there. So it's dang. So forget about the homecoming story.
LA, Detroit, LA,
Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder where I would want to go.
Come on, dude. The weather.
When we're really looking at some of the all-time greats, especially from this generation, obviously, like we said, we got the Rodgers, the Bradys, the Mannings. But if you go to that tier below them, people like Matt Ryan, who got an MVP, honestly, I would take Stafford above Matt Ryan because he's shown to be clutch.
100%.
Counts most. Yeah, he didn't win an MVP in the regular season, which arguably he could have. He had the talent to do so. But when he needed to step up.
Especially the year that they won.
What's up?
Especially the year that they won. That year he was going crazy.
It was one of his best years. Even the days back in Detroit too. But yeah, he I would say out of the quarterbacks that were drafted around the late 2000s, he is probably the best of that group. I can't think of really any others that I would put above him at this point in time.
I think he's in December and January. I think he's 19-4.
Yeah, it's clutch.
I saw that stat the other day.
Yep, just didn't have a lot of opportunities to, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of Matthew Stafford's former team, that's what we call a professional segue, because we'll go ahead and move on to the next game in there. I think that's pretty much it with the Rams and Eagles in there. Eagles advance. And so we're going to move on to the other game. And this one had to be one of the shockers of the weekend. It was the Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders come away with the victory 45-31. Woo! Hey, I'm not going to say I called that one a little bit, but I slightly called that one, man. At the end of that show, I said I will not be surprised if next week we are talking and the Detroit Lions lost that game. Man, what a week for Jared Goff to just have the worst stinker of a damn game that he's probably ever had in his career. The guy it just looked awful out there.
Real quick. You think he got a concussion? He got a concussion on that interception?
That hit was hard.
It looked like he got a concussion. I'm not gonna lie. It looked like he got a concussion.
That didn't get a flag, but what we're gonna
if that was Patrick Mahomes, that guy would have been. He would have been thrown out of the league.
Third. They threw a flag for when the two Texans players hit each other in the head and barely tapped Mahomes. Come on, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely probably get into that one. I didn't want to even get into that just because it's a nauseating thing. But you're completely right. It is definitely a conversation we probably do need to have. So about this Lions team, this Lions game, I think this one was. I feel really bad for Detroit because it is such a Detroit way to lose too. They were great. They set the franchise record, I believe, for wins. And then whenever it actually came down to it, now I do not blame Detroit per se and say besides Goff just having a bad game. They were so banged up on defense. They were so. I think at the end of the season, it was 14 to 15 players on IR. That is insane. And to still be one of the number one top seeds in the league, man, I feel bad for Detroit, man. That seemed like the year to be able to do it. The year before, they were just right there, and everybody's like, next year, it's definitely going to be Detroit. Definitely going to be Detroit. And unfortunately for them, Detroit happened. Detroit got Detroited.
Well, and then also, too, to add insult to injury, you lose your offensive coordinator in the same week. That. Yep.
And most likely your
DC
coordinator.
Too.
Exactly. I feel so bad for them. And that, honestly, when we got bounced, I was like, all right, I want Detroit to win it all. Because, that city deserves it. With all the crap that they have been through with Tigers and the Pistons, it's Lions finally got something going good for them. And then this happens. It sucks. It really does. And I always allude to on the show, the commies move on. The Red Scare is real. Oh my gosh, they're about to take over NFC Championship game right here, man. It's gosh darn commies right there.
Bro, shout out to Jaden Daniels, though, bro. And he does not look like a rookie out there. That guy looks like a 10-year veteran, bro. And looking like a rookie with his legs as well. Oh,
Yes,
16
body
carries,
of a rookie.
51 yards. He threw for 31 attempts on 22 completions, 299 yards, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions. While on the other side, Jared Goff, 313 with 1 TD and 3 interceptions. Which is
Tell us about his
why
wheels.
I kind of think that he did have a concussion, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I think he got a concussion. But
No, it's possible. You need to be an expert
Yeah,
to
man.
know that. But
the rush defense was not there. It was non-existent. He, like I said, he had 51 yards, but you got Brian Robertson Jr. with 77 yards and 2 TDs.
yep,
I
they'd be
mean,
tremendous.
dude, man.
We're definitely going to end up talking a lot more about the Commanders here in a second. And we just want to go over the last couple of games if anybody get a chance to check them out and just checking this out for the first time. We'll go ahead and move to the AFC side real quick and get that side done so we can advance on to the next round. You guys already started talking about it. We have the Chiefs and the Texans. The Chiefs come away with the win, 23-14. I don't think it was more of a surprise that the Chiefs were going to win the game. It was more the talk was the referee calls. So do you guys want to get into this, or are we just going to let everybody else do it for?
Dude,
I don't
man,
know.
dude, there was only 2 bad calls, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was only 2 bad calls. Yes, the refs do try to cheat for the Chiefs. I think a lot of us really know what's going on. But it was 2 bad calls compared to a whole game of football, bro. I don't know, man. Texans, you could have pulled it off. You could have pulled it off. But you didn't because they got a Hall of Fame coach over there. They got a Hall of Fame quarterback over there. And they know how to win on Hall of Fame. Madden difficulty, baby. They know how to win over there. And the Texans do not know how to win against a Chiefs team like this. Again, yes, the 2 calls, it was complete bullcrap. It shouldn't have been there, but you had a whole game to win. There's no excuses, bro.
Yeah, and if I had to go on one side of it, and I know like it's not the popular side on it. A lot of people are coming after Mahomes on for it. In reality, it is the smarter play to do. He was doing the smarter thing in getting a call. Granted, you don't like to see it. It's a flop. There should possibly maybe come in the NFL like they did in the NBA where they got rid of some of the flops in soccer. But in theory, as a Chiefs fan, you got to be like, hell yeah, that's what we want to see. Get the calls, get those extra yardage because our offense wasn't doing very much, So I don't want it to come down to Mahomes like as if he's a cheater or what have you. But it just does not a good look. I think that's what the problem comes in. It's just a bad look because of they've had so many times it just seems like it's gone in their favor.
Yeah. But look, for the flop, right? I think it's the NFL's job to penalize QBs that try to flop when you're going out of bounds, when you're running and someone tries to hit you and you flop. I think the NFL needs to penalize that as well. You can't be out here like, oh, yeah, we're only going to give the flag if the defensive player hits the quarterback while they're running out of bounds. But if the quarterback tries to flop and try to make it look like, oh, he hit me or whatever, and it didn't happen, you should penalize them for that too. Because if you don't, then it's going to continue to happen. And we don't want that in this league. We don't want it like the NBA.
Almost like a reverse unsportsmanlike conduct, something along those lines.
Yes, so you don't do it. So you don't
come up with some sort of catchy 15-yard penalty or something like that, but that needs to be addressed for sure. I mean, if you go back to Kenny Pickett was that I believe that was in college when he did it, but that's one of the kings of the fake out with the QB. He was going in for the slide, gets up, runs it for that touchdown, and he gets all the credit for being smart. But if he gets hit,
then a player does it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that's a rule change that definitely should happen. And then replay. And then why do we have replay if they're not going to use it, man? It should be on if it's a blatant call, especially come playoff time. That it needs to be used. If the refs can't necessarily see it, and it's got to be hard being a ref sometimes. These guys are running 20 and 30 miles an hour at times, and it's a bang bang play. You call it like you see it, and if you don't see it, but that's what instant replay is for. So they need to start utilizing a lot more.
Yep, I agree.
Real quick, BC. I don't know if you're gonna go, but I wanna give the fans the stats, the team stats, because everyone wants to complain about the flags and all this and whatever. Okay, Kareem Fairbairn, the kicker for the Houston Texans, he went 2 for 4 in field goals. That is 6 points missed right there. Okay, Harrison Butker went 3 for 3. He made all the field goals. One reason why they won. Okay, now let's go to kickoff return yards. Right, the Texans only had 67 yards on kickoff returns, while the Kansas City Chiefs had 131. Another reason why they won. Right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's go to defense. Tackles. 53 in total for the Houston Texans only. 53 tackles. The Kansas City Chiefs had 69. Another reason why they won. So for you guys to be saying that it's the flags and what helps the Chiefs win, I'm not going to disagree with that. But is that the reason why they won? No. They won because they played better and they're the better team. Simple as that.
The two fouls that everybody's talking about were egregious fouls. They were bad fouls, but that was not the determining factor that was going to cause the game for them to lose.
Exactly. Yep, you are fighting a losing battle if you're going to say that the refs. It's one thing to say if it's down to the wire, like final play and the refs screw up the call. That one, you can say, that cost us the game. Sure. But if you're, like I said, the score is the way it is, and Kansas City's been dominating pretty much the whole game, and this didn't come down to the last play, then you have no excuse. You cannot. Those two calls, again, we said it, they egregious, horrible. We addressed that. But you can't get dominated on both sides of the ball like that and then blame the refs and say they cost us.
Let me put out another stat here. Ready?
Go for it.
Travis Kelce caught 7 out of 8 catches. Xavier Worthy caught 5 out of 6 catches. Noah Gray caught 3 out of 3 catches. Kareem Hunt caught 1 out of 1. And then there was 5 players that didn't catch a pass from Patrick Mahomes. Yep. We'll go to the offensive side for the Houston Texans, right? Nico Collins, 5 for 8.
Drops.
Could be a reason why you guys lost. Yeah. But what do I know?
Dalton
Schultz, 4 for 4. Xavier Hutchinson, 4 for 6. 2 drops right there. Could have been crucial. Joe Mixon, 2 for 3. And then 2 players that didn't catch a pass from CJ Stroud. So it's like there's a lot of variables there on why they lost.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud, let's face it, too, CJ Stroud was having a kind of an off year. I don't think this is the second time they've already played.
He had a good game, though.
This is the second time they've played, and it's the same result. I mean, almost the exact same score as the last game, if I remember right. Like it
was around there.
And two things interesting about the Texans, since we'll go ahead and put this one to rest here as well. They just came out today, I believe it was, that D'Amico Ryans said that he's not even sure that Tank Dell is going to be able to make it to play next season at all. That injury is so severe that he might not be playing at all next year. And sticking with the wide receivers, do you realize Deontay Johnson has already kicked off the team again? That guy's been on 4 different teams in, I think, 4 months?
No, he went back to the Ravens. He went back to the Ravens, and he didn't even play.
Yeah. He went back to the Ravens. They re-signed him?
They picked him up again.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that, but he's already gone off their team too. I'm sure.
They're out of there already.
That's got to be a look in the mirror kind of guy right there, man. So you're not doing something right, man. If you go through that many teams at that amount of time,
he's not a locker room guy for sure.
On the Texans team that needed wide receivers, like you had easily the chance. Just don't be a jerk and literally you could be the guy there.
But you heard what happened, right? What it was, why they kicked him out?
Which team?
The Houston Texans.
I mean, you have to name which one. The Houston Texans? Go ahead.
Yeah. Because he was mad that he wasn't getting targeted.
Yes. Okay, I didn't know.
Are you a team player or not? Are you're just thinking about the individual stats and stuff? Okay, you don't really want to win. Get up out of here. I get it. I would do the same.
Said it perfectly there. It's like you can be a part of what we got. We got a great young squad here we're trying to build up. But if you want it to be all about you, I'm sure there's somebody out there that'll want your talents, but we don't. So peace.
Yeah, amazing enough too. You go to multiple teams that needed number 1 receivers too. Like that's what's mind blowing. If you're supposed to have all this talent, you go to Carolina. Who'd you have to beat out? Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, a rookie.
Well, he got traded from there. He got traded.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying he went from Pittsburgh to Carolina to Baltimore. Barely played Baltimore. Went to Houston. Houston was out. They needed at least number 2, and I don't know, man. Like that's something that guy needs to look in the mirror because he is a good receiver, but he just needs to figure something out with that. That's insane, man. Go through that many teams on teams that actually need you and you can't make it like that. That's crazy. But all right, we're putting that one to rest.
Last thing on the Texans before we move on. NFL rumor right now: Dallas Cowboys are going to try and trade for Stephon Diggs, match him up with his brother. Just saying.
What's that? He said Stephon Diggs is what?
Dallas Cowboys are going to try to trade for Stephon Diggs to pair him up with his brother.
Oh man, that doesn't sound like that won't be a locker room problem either, or something like that. You know, two diva Diggs on the team.
I'm down to try it out. I'm
sure Brian Schottenheimer is going to love that one, man.
No. Kellen Moore, bro. Come on. Kellen Moore.
All right, man. So we got one more before we jump into the new we move forward, and that was the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
man, there was so many different storylines going on with this one, and if you didn't get a chance to see it by now, the Buffalo Bills put out the victory 27-25. And poor Mark Andrews, man. Poor Mark Andrews.
Bro, I feel so bad for him, bro.
Just like Jared Goff had probably the worst game of his entire career, and I'm talking Pee-wee football as well. Man, dropped the 2-point conversion, the fumble. The list goes on and on, man.
An amazing season. Career season, bro.
He started off really slow. He got in a car accident in the offseason and then kind of took a little while, I think, to kind of get back.
Saved the lady in that car accident.
Yeah, kind of took a little while to get back up to speed. And then once he did, he was booming and rolling like the old Mark Andrews. But man, and you know, I've been the crucial one of Lamar on the show. I'm not going to come out and blame Lamar on this one. I think Lamar did. Lamar had to find it. He had a couple bad throws. There was, without a doubt, a couple bad ones. But this one wasn't on Lamar. And so yeah, Mike, man, this was your pick here, man. Where are you at now with Baltimore? What do you think?
Too many mistakes for Baltimore, man. Too many mistakes. It started off with Lamar throwing the pick and then Lamar having a fumble. Yeah, it was snowy, but you really can't make an excuse there because the other team is playing in the same conditions as you. Yeah, they're used to it, but still, you got to come out and play, and it is what it is. This is what January football is. You want to win. You want to go and be in the big game in February. You got to win in January. That's what it is. Too many mistakes on the Baltimore side, man. Two crucial drop balls by Mark Andrews, bro. One in the second quarter, one at the end of the game, and he had a fumble. So it was a horrible game for him. They didn't have their star wide receiver out there, Zay Flowers. So, you know, they were depleted there at the receiving position. But just too many mistakes on the Baltimore's end, and Buffalo took advantage of that, bro. They took advantage of every single
Baltimore really needs to address in the offseason is getting a true number one. I think Zay Flowers is great. He's electric, but I don't find him to be a number one. He's more of a 1B to me. But if they need to find an actual like dominant number one, maybe Diggs could go there, but Diggs is a little bit past his prime, I think, at this point. But they need to find, I think, an alpha because you got Mark Andrews who's trying to be the one. Hell of a player. It worked for Kelsey, but Kelsey's also not trying to do what they're requiring to do. Kelsey is more of a dink and dunk, and he can just make something work afterwards. But you can't expect Mark Andrews to be your number one. I'm sorry, that's just not going to really work for you. You know, and Bateman's a fine 3, maybe a 2, somewhere in there. But they need to find if Zay Flowers is your number 2 and you have an actual number 1. I think that would really help them out a lot. Maybe go after like Devontae Adams, who's rumored not to be back with the Jets. Somebody. He's a little bit past his prime, maybe too. I don't know. You know what I'm saying, though. I think they need to find a true number one, and I think that's what's going to put Baltimore over the top because Bateman isn't a 1, like we were just saying, and I think Andrews just struggled at being the 1, you know. And you didn't really hear much from Likely either, so I was kind of surprised by that either.
Yeah, I'm surprised, though, too, with this game that they didn't rely on Derrick Henry more. He only had 16 carries, but he was averaging 5 yards a carry. Like, that's pretty much been their game plan all season. And again, we talked about it's a snow game. Like the passing game is not going to be there as much, and you see why you don't pass in a snow game as much. Buffalo, you know, like they grounded it, they ran it out on the ground for the most part. 2 tutties from Josh Allen, you know, working his way into the end zone there. Again, Derrick Henry already had 1 score on the day. I think that you could have easily given him 10 more carries, and he would have cracked 100 yards, gotten you another touchdown, and that probably would have made the difference for sure. Again, I'm kind of flabbergasted that they went away from the reason why they are at where they were at this season.
Well, I'm not surprised really because it happened last year. They did that same exact thing last year.
That was the one thing we said too. Is that
one thing we talked about? Just run the damn ball, man. Run the ball.
Yeah.
Now, see,
It's
my
true.
question
Like
is,
you got Barkley out here getting literally 26 carries. Like you said, give him 10 more carries, it would be 26 carries.
And he
And
was
yeah,
coming on in the third quarter,
he probably
too.
would have
Yeah.
hit 150 yards easily.
He was coming on in the third quarter, and that's whenever like he could start to see Henry starting to pick up steam. Was the third, and then
worn out. He was going to start running roughshod. And my question is, then are we? I think we could all probably agree the blame is going to go on the OC then Todd Monken, because he's, if I'm not mistaken, he calls the plays on the offense. So it's like this has been your second straight year where you're doing the exact same thing. You're not learning from last year. It's like, how many more chances are you going to get?
That's a rough one, because technically I think Lamar has looked the best he's ever looked with Monken being there. So I think it was more of just it wasn't working. And honestly, I don't think I think Baltimore did what they had to do to win the game. It's just Baltimore should have probably won the game. But Buffalo just didn't make the big mistakes, and Baltimore did this game. I mean, Baltimore didn't even punt. If I'm not mistaken, Baltimore didn't even punt in this game. So I mean, like. They did what they needed to do.
Yeah, they didn't punt.
And like that's impressive in a playoff game. You're not even punting, and you still come up with losing it. Just some stuff happens sometimes, man. Football that's ask Detroit. They've been doing it for years.
But they have 4 turnovers.
Yeah,
3 fumbles and 1 interception.
Yeah, they were costly.
And obviously, you trot down the field that last drive, and you try to get it to one of your best receivers, if not probably your best receiver on the team, and he drops the ball. Like, dude, even then, Buffalo had a minute and a half to come down the field and score, which I think they probably would have done. Like Buffalo was playing outstanding. Yeah, you gotta catch that, bro. You got to, man. Like,
or again, 2-point conversion. Run it with Henry. They could not stop him. Like I don't know,
dude. Honestly, the play was there. The play was perfect. He was open. It was there. It was in the bread basket. It was there.
It was
a little bit low, but I mean that's a catch Mark Andrews makes 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, bro. Like it's not like the Patriots and Seahawks where they literally should have ran it because Russell Wilson threw an interception. It wasn't there. That wasn't there. So run the ball.
Yeah, different. That was different circumstances for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like,
well,
I don't know, man. You gotta catch that, bro. I'm sorry, you gotta catch that shit. Like,
well, the way I'm kind of looking at it now, I think in the words of Jay-Z, it's on to the next one, man. We were talking about Buffalo a couple seconds ago, so let's go ahead and get into it, man. Buffalo advances, and they are going to take on what we were just talking about before, the Kansas City Chiefs. This one's going to be interesting, man. Another playoff game in Arrowhead. Buffalo has already beaten Kansas City. What do you guys think? How's this playing out, man? And before I get in there, if you go back like 2 years ago, this is probably one of the most exciting games you're going to see. I feel like this game is going to be a slow-paced, boring game, to be honest with you, if I had to be blunt about it.
I mean, it's both defense. Like this, both teams have been relying on their defenses this year pretty much to get the job done. So I would tend to agree, but I am pulling for both. I think it's safe to say all of America, aside from Kansas City, is going for Buffalo in this one.
Yeah.
It's the new evil empire. It's the new evil empire. That's we got to take down Kansas City. So.
Yeah, and Buffalo. I mean, it's no diss on Buffalo as well, because they're playing extremely efficient football. I think they set a record for most touchdowns count by a different receiver in NFL history or something. They're playing extremely well. They're playing efficient. It's just the lack of big play from Kansas City anymore, and Buffalo. They're playing smarter football. They're not making Josh Allen do all these wild things that he used to do, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit. So that's all I mean. It's going to be a slower paced game. But I think Buffalo definitely has a great chance in this game. But I mean, it is Kansas City. G-Mike, man, how you feeling about this?
Dude, man, just like anything in the comic book in DC, nothing can kill Superman except for the kryptonite. And that's what happens. And that's what happened with the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Buffalo Bills kryptonite until I see the Bills beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, which can happen this weekend. I'm not saying it can't, but given the history, I can't go against the Chiefs, bro. I'm sorry, I can't. I gotta go with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and that star-studded defense right now. I can't go against them, especially that they have the Buffalo Bills number on speed dial 1. It's there, ringing every year.
It's unfortunate for him.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna go make our picks on there. Then BC, who are you picking?
Oh, I don't want to pick Kansas City, but I feel like I have to. Oh, this hurts to
Go with
say.
your gut. Go with your gut.
You can go ahead. And I will be the big man. I will be the one over here. I am going Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo, and I think Buffalo is actually going to beat them actually handily in this one. I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think Buffalo is going to come out and put on a show. I'm liking the way they've been playing. I like we were saying before when we were picking our preseason picks. I thought Buffalo was actually a lot better, and a lot of people were jumping off the bridge on them. Because of all the wide receiver stuff. I didn't think they're going to be this good. I said I thought they're going to be good, but I did not expect them to be this good. But I'm sticking with them. I've been riding with them for a little while in here, and I guess I'm going to does that help me out with my MVP pick of Josh Allen, or does he win or lose this now, or because Lamar, like where are we going with that now?
I feel like I said this like to my family when we were watching the game. I was like, whoever loses this one is going to win the MVP. That's my prediction. So
whoever loses is gonna be the MVP.
Like whoever loses the whoever lost between Buffalo and Baltimore. So that
is gonna be the MVP. You're saying the losing quarterback is gonna be the MVP?
Yeah. So Lamar lost. So I got him winning the MVP, and then you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go with my gut. Josh Allen's gonna use that as fuel, and he's gonna take down Patty. Let's do it. Bills by a field goal.
It would be dope to see 100%, man. I can't see it, dude. It's not there in my vision. It's not in my vision, dog. I'm like John Cena out here. It's just not there.
Yeah, I feel confident in Buffalo. I like the way they're playing. And Kansas City, they just been way too sloppy for me. But they do turn on the playoffs, man. You can't deny that. And Travis Kelce did exactly what I said we were going to do last week. We were talking about it. Travis Kelce turned into playoff Travis Kelce, which is exactly what they've been waiting for the entire time. So, all right, so we're moving on as well. We got before we recap that real quick, we got we going 2 Buffalo, 1 Kansas City.
Yep.
All right, good to know. That's gonna be an interesting man. But Bills Mafia will go crazy if they make it to the Super Bowl. There, that'd be great. It's been a long time for them.
They deserve it. Like they are.
Been there what 3 times, 4 times? I haven't won.
4 times in a row.
That's right, 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Right. And we beat them in one of them.
Yeah, I know we talk about their fan base, and we're gonna talk about Phillies in a sec. Like we talk about both fan bases, but Buffalo is more of that like chaotic good where it's like everybody loves them because they're so like crazy. Everybody and Philly is more of chaotic evil where everybody hates Philly fans. So
and this is where we go to Philly Commanders, baby.
Crazy segue right now. Without further ado, man, we are going to the playoff game between the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. You did not get your screen messed up or hear me wrong on the podcast here. The Commanders are in the NFC Championship. What a game this is going to be, my friends. I really don't know what to expect, man. I've been so high on Jaden Daniels this season of just like he's just impressed the hell out of me. Can he pull it off against the Eagles defense, man? They've already played once. They played twice. And the last time they played, Jaden Daniels got the win, I believe, right?
I think they're 1-1, yeah. I just don't know if it was the last game they played.
It's already happened. And they're going to be playing in Philadelphia, which is always going to be a hostile environment. But, Mike, man, can Jaden Daniels do this?
I think he can. But, dude – that defense for Philly is just too crazy, man. Even though Jaden Daniels has been torching top defenses all year long. So, like I said, I think he can. But can the Commanders stop Saquon Barkley from going crazy? And that's where I think that the Eagles are going to take off, man. That's what they do. They run the ball, they score running the ball, and they win running the ball. And they're going to continue to do that going into the Super Bowl. I don't think the Commanders are going to be able to stop that run offense. I think the run defense is pretty weak. But can Jaden Daniels keep up the score with the Philadelphia Eagles? I think so. I think he could probably throw some touchdowns, maybe a couple of them, maybe even rush in. But I still think at the end of it, the Eagles will probably take this game with the home field advantage and they'll move on to the Super Bowl to get a rematch with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oof, man. That is juicy, my friend. Mr. BC, man, how you feeling now? What do you think, man?
All right, I think for sure it's going to be a tough it's going to be Jane Daniels' toughest task. This defense is no joke with Philly, regardless of whether or not we think the head coaching there can lead them to a championship. That defense is still one of the best in the National Football League for a reason. And Washington's biggest kryptonite is Philly's greatest strength, the ground game. So, in terms of preventing the run on Washington's defense. But I've been analytical for the most part this whole year. It's had its ups, it's had its downs, and for me, my prediction as far as moving forward. Hold on. Whatever the salute is for a sec. I'm going commies in this one, man. We're going with the
no. Oh no. He pulled the Elon Musk.
Oh boy, man. Yeah, well, honestly, man, I've been riding with Jaden Daniels for quite a while. I think the hardest thing is going to be, like you were saying, BC, is the run game. Saquon this has him written all over it. It's going to be cold. It's the end of the year. They've been relying on him so much, and Washington has a hard time catching a cold. So they cannot stop the run. They cannot. They have their defense is what they've been their kryptonite for sure. This offseason, which is kind of ironic that Dan Quinn comes over and their offense is lighting it up. And their defense has been subpar, but the defense has been playing a hell of a lot better since the playoffs started. So it hasn't been, total doom and gloom for the defense.
And that's the thing. Like, are we going to go with the analytic? For me, again, am I going to go with the analytical matchup, or are we going to go with the style of whatever team's the hottest come playoff time? That really is, and the question asked. And Washington's been playing into that so far. They have been underdogs pretty much this entire postseason. They have been white hot, though. They have found ways to win, grind it out on the road every single game. So it's like, you know what? Let's just, for narrative's sake, for storyline's sake, I got commies winning this one.
Yeah, I have to go analytical, man. One of the best rush offenses against one of the worst rush defenses. This is not like Detroit. Detroit does not have the injuries on defense. And Eagles top 5 defense in the league right now, and probably even all year long. So it's not the same. It's not going to be the same game, and they're not playing in a dome.
Yeah, the way I see it, I'm probably just going to be double dipping with the L's this weekend. So it's like, you know what? Why not? Let's just have fun with it. Let's do it. Let's give Bills Mafia a chance to win it all, and let's keep Philly's toxic fan base out. Anybody's watching from Philly, you want to come at me?
And that's the Super Bowl America wants, baby. That's the Super Bowl America wants. The commies versus the Billies.
Dang it, that's what we want.
The Billies and the commies.
All right, so let's play. Before we jump into our debate real quick, and I'm gonna go ahead and make my pick, I guess, with this one. I think this is where it kind of stops for Jane Daniels. I'm gonna go Philadelphia, make it to the Super Bowl, and I think it's only because Saquon Barkley is gonna go run wild. I want to see the Commanders go out of the two of those teams. I really like how Jane Daniels. His poise, everything he's doing on the field, it would be awesome to see. I'm gonna take the Eagles. That defense is just nasty. But all right, I want to play a game with you real quick, you guys. Out of the four starting quarterbacks that's left in the postseason right now, who am I? I have 2,903 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 65.6 QBR. Who am I? You have Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts.
I say Jalen Hurts.
What, you're talking about for the whole season, though? Or you're talking about in the playoffs?
No, the season.
Oh yeah, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Now, what is your first reaction to be Jaden Daniels, like as a rookie, like you getting that or whatever,
No, like he has 30 passing TDs, no?
Yeah, it would be, but if he was. Yeah, it would have been if he wasn't up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm like, there's no way he's beating Bucky Irving with those numbers.
No. So Jane Daniels' numbers for the regular season was 3,568 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and a 70.5 QBR, which is 4th best in the league.
Yep.
That's one hell of a rookie season, man.
Hey, man,
we got the veteran playing against the greatest game manager ever.
Right. Those numbers are great for game management, man. If you need a guy that doesn't turn the ball over and is great at pushing them tushes, like
it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about the dub, baby. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Don't worry about the individual stats. Don't worry about the money. It don't matter. At the end of the day, it's worry about the dub.
Except in playoffs where he hasn't won a ring yet, but it's all good. It's all good.
But
All
he
right.
played amazing in the
We're gonna-
Super Bowl, though.
We'll
Against
get
Kansas City,
more
he
in,
played amazing. He had like 300 yards and like 3 TDs. And
He
I
did.
think one rush TD. I think he had like 4 in total.
He did. I just love throwing shade. So it's Philly. I got to. I can't stand them. You know, it's
F
that
the
old
birds, man. F the birds.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot more Super Bowl talk. We'll get into that next week. Obviously, after these games are done and we know it's actually going to be there, we'll go ahead and break some more stuff down with that one. And of course, you'll hear about the Super Bowl ad nauseum for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So get ready for that. So we're going to go ahead and close out our show with one more segment that we got, and it is our this week's Down Bad Debate. And this one is going to be fun because it is some old school wide receivers in here. And for those who can't see this on the screen, I'll go ahead and break it down for you. One's got to go. You got Minnesota Vikings Randy Moss. You got Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, and Terrell Owens. Good luck to whoever wants to go first on this one, and looks like it's you, BC.
Oh,
I'll go first. I'll go.
That's the liberty of being the host, man. I can't go first.
That's all right.
Cool.
I think I went. Oh wait, no, I went first last time. That's why I was able to get.
Yeah. I'll go first.
Okay.
This one.
Okay.
You're such a gentleman.
So,
Gentleman Mike. That's what the G stands for.
So I want to first start off by saying that all these receivers right here had impeccable careers in those uniforms right there. Obviously, we're going off of those uniforms, correct? We're not going off of their whole career. Okay,
Correct.
so for those teams, obviously they've had amazing careers for those teams, right? So I can't really pick one because of their skill, their hands, their speed, their agility, their toughness, their vertical. I can't pick one because I think that they're all elite at all of those categories, right? So I'm gonna have to go with the locker room stuff, right? So I gotta take T.O. out of there because I feel like he was crazy drama queen in the locker room, and he was starting up stuff that shouldn't have been started when he could have kept his mouth shut because he jumped on different teams. Obviously, we're sticking with the 49ers uniform right now, but I'm pretty sure that's where it started from. And he was jumping from team to team to team to team, not because of his skill, because of his locker room sake. So I would take out T.O. because, again, everyone on this board, all these 4 receivers have great skill. So I have to go off based of their locker room ethnicity, we would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word or not.
It wasn't the right word.
Urban Dictionary tomorrow.
Oh man, that's enough to get you blocked. All right, BC, you want to go next, or you want me to go, man?
I mean, I would agree 100% with G Mike on that one. To again, we are nitpicking at the absolute highest degree. These guys are all bona fide Hall of Famers, first ballot level talent. Like, I'm not going to take that away from them. I will add, I will say each of them brings something different as well that they were most known for in the game. Obviously, with Calvin Johnson, you've just got the sheer size that you just were terrified to go up against. You could not find anybody that could match up against him. Larry Fitzgerald, best hands in terms of like you need like a third down catch. He's going to get it for you, and nobody's knocking that out. Randy Moss, you need the best contested catch / like red zone threat. He's your guy for sure. And then T.O., he's going to yak it up. He's great with your yards after catch. Like that was his thing. Yeah, he was insanely strong. So I will say for me, if I'm like building a trio, I like having Larry Fitzgerald being that, or like Larry Fitzgerald being that third down safety blanket. I like Randy Moss being the guy that if I need to do a jump ball in the end zone, he's going to grab it. And then Calvin Johnson, the sheer size over the middle. If I need like a big catch like that, he's going to be able to get it. He's going to be a matchup nightmare. T.O., his yards after catch and strength is just something for me that I feel like I can get a little bit of both from everybody else. So it's like I feel like I'm the locker room toxicity outweighs what he brings onto the field in comparison to the other 3.
Yeah. It's this one is definitely difficult.
We can do 3.
What's that?
Are we gonna all pick the same guy first time? What?
Who you picking,
no, I don't think so. No, I'm going Randy Moss. Randy Moss would for me would be the one to go.
What?
And the reason I'm saying Randy Moss is because you kind of broke it down. Larry Fitzgerald had sure hands. You got T.O. with the strength and the yards after the catch, which you put together, what you just explained, which is That's something that's huge for quarterbacks. And then Calvin Johnson, you need the red zone threat. Randy Moss can jump over somebody, but whenever you're that big, you don't need to jump over many people. So I would take Calvin Johnson any day over pretty much any of them. But it is no disrespect to Randy Moss. Love Randy Moss. But out of the three of them, I feel like that Randy Moss would be the one for me to go. I just like the sure hands of Larry Fitzgerald, the yards after the catch and strength of Terrell Owens, and just sheer size and end zone threat of Calvin Johnson.
How you gonna skip on super freak Randy Moss right there, man? Come on.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all,
It's
but
super freak.
Shout out to Rick James, baby.
You guys remember the old like intros and stuff like that, like Randy Moss, aka Super Freak Marshall.
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed it.
I saw there was someone, either I think it was on the Bills or the Buffalo or Ravens, that they were doing the intros with Shea Udzon.
Or remember, what was it? Who was the one that was like body built by Taco Bell?
Oh yeah. That's right.
Or Jared Allen from being homeschooled or given his elementary school.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, I think that is going to wrap it up for us tonight for Views from the Stands. Once again, we want to give a shout out to Varsity Sports Network for putting us on. We had a little bit of delayed start with them, but they're going to be a part of us going forward. So that was big news for us and big news for them. We really appreciate it. So check them out on the app. And like I said before, you can find them on your Roku, on your Apple TV, pretty much anywhere that you get a streaming service, and it's real easy to do. As for us, we got a lot of football coming up. We really appreciate it. Please give us the like and subscribe. We are trying to do this as much as we can for you guys, and we really appreciate all the help, man. Mr. G, Mike, got anything for the people before we go?
Yes, yeah. Guys, please like and subscribe. Like Steve just said, it will really help us out. Please show the support. Come on here and talk smack to us, man. Write in the chats, make fun of us, do whatever you need to, man. Come and show out, show support, and later on in the future, we might be going to some high schools to be calling high school basketball games, or if not, in the later future, high school football games. So tune in for that with Steve, Brandon, and I. We might be on that, and we might be doing it live too, baby.
There we go. Mr. BC, got anything else, buddy? You good to go?
I mean, shoot, like we alluded to earlier, man, and we're about to reach the pinnacle of football at the end of the year. I mean, obviously we passed the pinnacle with college football. We're about to reach the big boys, Super Bowl. So, hey, have it circled on your calendar, whether you're just there for the food, whether you're there for the game, whether you're there for one of your teams that's going to be in it, or even if you're just there for the commercials. Just get a group together, have some fun, enjoy it. Like, this is why we watch football every single year. It's great storylines. It's the end of a great season, I think. So don't forget to tune in, man. And also,
we got the Pro Bowl coming up. We got a lot of stuff coming up for our show as well. So we'll be doing a lot of recording here. We really appreciate everything you guys have done for us and continue to watch us. And we hope you guys have a good night. And we will catch you later.
Peace.